Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ.
And I'm Jeanelle Slade. Parts of the Midwest crippled by days of historic flooding are bracing for even more rain. Well, tonight, why Montana could also feel the impacts.
3 deaths are blamed on that flooding. Thousands of acres of farmland are underwater and countless livestock are dead.
Although the effects from the devastation would be delayed for Montana ranchers, the concern is real.
Our Montana Ag Network's Russell Nemitz has more.
The hard part about this, different than a hurricane or a tornado, it might be 2, 3, 4 weeks before people can assess the true nature and total amount of their damages.
Like so many others, the flooding devastation for Nebraska's cattle industry is real. Pete McClymont is the Nebraska Cattlemen's executive vice president and says roadways are washed out, feed yards are underwater, and in some cases, entire cattle herds have been washed away.
From the cow-calf side of things, we've heard in Sherman County, which is in central Nebraska, a rancher had 35 pair that was in some low ground, and he knew he needed to move them to higher ground. And in the move, there was a local dam that was breached. He lost all 35 pairs.
Montana is one of the great export markets for feeder cattle, and the Montana Stock Growers Association's Executive Vice President Jay Bodner says the flooding and devastation to Nebraska's cattle feeding industry will have an impact on Montana ranchers.
We're going to see those impacts of those feedlots that have been devastated by these flooding events. They're not going to be able to potentially take cattle. Those feedlots have maybe just been wiped out. And then in addition to that, we're going to see significant feed losses too. So that feed just won't be available to take some of those cattle to feed those out. So it's going to be a double hit really for the livestock industry and the feeding market. And that's going to affect, I think, us potentially in Montana.
The Nebraska cattlemen have launched a new disaster relief fund online, and Bodner encourages Montana's ranching community to offer assistance if they can. In Billings, Russell Nemitz, MTN News.
And Russell tells us the early loss estimates provided by the Nebraska Department of Agriculture already show a $400 million impact to the state's livestock industry.
Again, if you'd like to help, you can find the Nebraska Cattlemen's Relief Fund online at nebraskacattlemen.org.
All right, we want to turn to Montana weather now. Rob Griggs is in for Bob tonight, and spring officially here in the Treasure State. And boy, was it perfect out there today.
Well, it was, Russ. You know, we've had these nice, mild temperatures, which really has aided in keeping the snow from running all over the place, and that's probably why we're not seeing more flood conditions right now. Across the state, it's absolutely beautiful, and you can tell because everybody's in a good mood. It's about time. We had such a rotten February. Temperatures right now ranging from about 38 degrees at Helena and Bozeman all the way to 59 at Worland. Yes, spring has sprung. 3:58 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. It has arrived. More sunshine in the forecast, more mild temperatures, and yeah, more snow melt with some potential lowland flooding. Now, if you're looking forward to tomorrow, so am I. 61 degrees with some more melting, and sunshine will drop down to 30 degrees overnight under clear skies. And of course, we'll take a complete look at the Billings area forecast, as well as look at what the statewide picture is for that melting condition in just a little bit. Russ?
All right, thanks, Rob.
The wife of the Montana Highway Patrol trooper ambushed near Missoula last Friday releases new details on his condition.
Lindsay Palmer says her husband, 35-year-old Wade Palmer, was shot 3 times, once in the head, in the neck, and in the face. Now, she describes his condition as extremely critical, and he's in a medically induced coma at a Utah hospital. She said due to the nature and extent of his injuries, it may be some time before they know more about his prognosis.
She offered this statement today, quote, "We remain cautiously optimistic that Wade will continue to see steady improvements. We recognize, however, that the overall understanding of these improvements and what they mean in the long run is still evolving and unknown at this time."
Meanwhile, friends and family of the man killed in last week's initial attack in Missoula are still trying to process the loss of 28-year-old Shelly Hayes.
As Jill Valley reports, he was a man who loved to laugh, loved his family, and was completely devoted to his little girl.
Shelly Hayes never passed up a chance for fun. He loved fast bikes, fast snowmobiles, fast trucks, and if they weren't fast enough, he could fix that. Always surrounded by friends, he was always up to make new ones.
He had this personality where he could make a friend at anybody. You know, if somebody's giving him that long stare, like not sure. I mean, he'd go over there just to I guess, make the situation better, you know. He would create a conversation, and all of a sudden, by the time it was over, he's just another friend, you know what I mean? He was always social like that.
Nick Kogar and Shelley had been friends since they were 7 years old, attending Hellgate Elementary School and later Big Sky High School.
Hey, look here.
Nick says they were rarely apart back then.
That was one of our old shop pickups.
As a kid, Shelley won awards for barrel racing and roping competitions. It was a love of horses that he's passed on to his daughter, Chloe.
She came first with everything. It didn't matter. You know, he put in a lot of late hours to make sure he could give her everything that she needed, and you know, she was, how do you say that? He was wrapped around her finger, let's put it that way.
Shelley and his partner opened up Maxed Out Performance in Missoula. As a talented mechanic, the business grew. But Shelley never got too busy for what was really important to him.
Family was everything for him. He's always the first one when anybody needed help, including me.
Nick has a lot of pictures of the adventures he and Shelley shared. He remembers the laughter, the fun, and how Shelley could make the best of any situation. Shelley cast a wide net of friends and family around western Montana, many who feel blindsided by his death, as they remember their friend, who seemed to have it all figured out.
Anything to get out and socialize and have a good time, that's what he was about. It was just get out and go and turn every stranger into a friend. That's pretty much just his motto in life. That's all he wanted. It was just to make a name for himself. He wanted people to be proud of him, and he just wanted to be cared for and respected. That's all he wanted.
In Missoula, Jill Valley, MTN News.
And Shelley's family recently set up a new Facebook fundraiser for funeral costs and other expenses.
In other news tonight, a federal judge has blocked drilling on more than 300,000 acres of Wyoming land, ruling the Bureau of Land Management failed to consider the impact of climate change. Now, the case was filed in 2016 by a pair of environmental conservation groups against the Obama administration. The Washington, D.C. judge ruled the BLM failed to take into account the impact of greenhouse gas emissions on the climate by oil and gas development on federal land. Now, the judge ordered further environmental review on that land, but he did not cancel the leases.
A Billings family had a little different excitement for the birth of a child when they didn't quite get all the way inside the hospital. Michaela was born at 8:20 this morning in the parking lot of the Billings Clinic. The Michaels left their home at 8 this morning. They parked their car in the pull-out section of the building. Cassie Michael knew that Michaela was about to be born. Cassie couldn't walk, so she stayed in the car while Nathan went for help.
And I said I need a wheelchair, and about that minute my water broke, and he ran up the stairs to grab a wheelchair. Luckily came down with a CNA because he heard me yelling for him and also heard a baby crying.
I couldn't quite believe what I was hearing, but yeah, I made it to the car pretty quick.
It's just so wonderful when everybody's healthy and happy and it all works out. So it's exciting.
Everyone's doing great. We just have a fun story to tell for her birthday now.
Well, Nathan and Casey also have a 4-year-old son, and they expect to bring the new baby home tomorrow.
Coming up on tonight's 5:30 News, political sights are already set on 2020, but the vision is less than crystal clear as to who has their eyes on Montana's governor's seat.
And our Rockies basketball men off to another Cinderella start at the national tournament. Scott will show us.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger, Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire, and sports with Scott Breen. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.